Now I'm going to pose a question to all the beautiful and snazzy people who have clicked on this video. Now, the current generation of gaming has been filled with a vast amount of original masterpieces. But have you actually noticed how many of these masterpieces have actually just been remakes, reimaginings, or just flat out remasters of existing franchises? It's actually really strange if you look into it. There have been 5 Assassin's Creed remasters. Strange, I know, they all came out within a, let's say, 10-year span. 1 Call of Duty remaster, soon to be 2 Resident Evil remakes with Resident Evil 3 on its way, 3 Spyro remasters, and 4 Crash Bandicoot remasters. The list could literally just go on and on and on, but those are just the ones off the top of my head that are, let's say, the most notable. You'd think as a generation we'd want to push forward with stories and not just rewrite them. And I know what you must be thinking, why are games being remastered so much? That was a bad way of saying that from me. Why are games being remastered so much? Because unless it's a reimagining, the developers aren't really going to change any features of the game. Well, perhaps apart from aesthetic and minor gameplay tweaks for the player's benefit. But time and again, a studio will bring out a remake or, something along those lines, and it just really starts to get on my nerves, because I could realistically just go out and get my older console and play the game for free, rather than paying between, let's say, £30 and £60 for a done-up version of a game that I've already played. Now, the only reason I've actually said it's between 30 and 60 is because sometimes these games are bundled together. For example, if a game or remaster has multiple games in it, or, for example, where the Crash Bandicoot remaster is sort of being bundled together with the Spyro remaster on online stores, that type of thing. That's why I put it between 30 and £60. Gotta put the caution out there. Gotta make sure I get it right. And that was a solid take. Yeah. Realistically, developers and publishers should be pushing forward in the gaming scene, creating new adventures in an unimaginable world and not just retreading on other people's work. I mean, realistically, developers, instead of just remaking, reimagining, or remastering, or whatever, you could be creating a new adventure based around an existing franchise, where you could implement new features, a new world, new characters, just anything to enhance the story of the game, rather than, recycling a narrative over and over again as you remaster more and more games. And personally, I would much prefer the developers work on something new, rather than just replaying the same games over and over again. But if you think about it, you could take it in a different perspective. If I've never played a game before that is just such a cult classic, then a remaster does really give me the opportunity to finally play that game. For example, I never played The Last of Us. Well, this was only because I was on the Xbox 360 and there was of course the PlayStation exclusivity. But when I bought a PS4, I was able to play The Last of Us as it was a remastered game, and I loved it. So, as you can tell, there are most certainly perks of a remaster, as generally they can be quite beneficial to players who are yet to experience a certain game before. It's all just one big game of tug of war if you actually think about it. The pros usually weigh out the cons in this regard, and I guarantee that at least half of my viewer base has at least owned or played a remake or remaster before. They are literally just everywhere. You could walk into a shop and just see remaster. You could walk into a gaming store, oh look, here's our new remaster. Or just look online for a new game or whatever, and then it will say, featured game, a remaster. I'm so strange. They're literally just everywhere you look. Just trust me, you don't need to look hard to find them. And everyone is just wanting these remakes just all the time. Everyone. I've got so off track, this is hilarious. If you just look at YouTube, there are so many YouTubers that are speculating for their childhood game to be remastered. People were asking for the Crash Bandicoot remaster, and then when that was released, we got asked for the Spyro remaster. It will just keep happening again and again and again, and companies trying to feed off the player base's nostalgia. And in some ways, I hate it, and others I don't, because everyone is asking for these remasters left, right, and centre. But I do actually have a couple of remastered games, so I can't say that I'm totally against it, but it's just that companies are just publishing remasters rather than newer games in a franchise. That's the only reason that I really get annoyed about these types of things. Unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do. I'm not some high-ranking member of a publishing company who can say, stop remaking games, it's exactly what the people want, but you're making too many of them. It's just such a juxtaposition that it's unreal. But I do hope that you can all understand the angle that I am trying to go for with that sketch and this entire discussion. So one can always hope. I honestly hope that this isn't just me, and I urge any other YouTubers who watch this video to voice their concerns on this topic as well. Because in 5 years' time, we may have remasters of remasters, especially because the next generation of consoles is coming out in a year's time, which will be 2020. Now, one of the rumoured titles for the PS5 is actually Demon's Souls Remastered, the grandfather of the Soulsborne franchise. And so PlayStation are launching the next generation with a game that has an established following to hopefully push the sales of their newest consoles. And I don't have a problem with companies cashing in on the nostalgia market because it's obviously working for them. But the way that I look at it is that too many remastered games could lead to an oversaturated gaming market full of remasters. And overall, the amount of remastering and reimagining and remaking of video games is currently skyrocketing. I really remember a time where remasters weren't even a thing in the world of video games. The only thing that would be perhaps comparable to a remaster would be a port of a game that was literally just brought onto a different console. A game that had little to no graphical upgrades when it was brought onto that new console. And this was, let's say, certainly a more civilized age. Well, when it comes to video games anyway. I can't stop any of these remakes, reimaginings or remasters from happening because that's just not how the world works, but that doesn't mean as a collective of gamers and people that we can stop these companies from cashing in on our nostalgia. So, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, then subscribe and turn on the notification button so you don't miss another upload from me. So thank you and goodbye.